April is quite the infamous month amongst the weather community. Many of the most devastating tornado and severe weather outbreaks have occurred within the month of April. The 2011 super outbreak, the 1974 super outbreak, Palm Sunday 1965. Even last year's potential super outbreak occurred at the very end of March and into early April. Needless to say, there is a precedent for major tornado outbreaks right as winter is winding down and spring begins to heat up. 2024 was no exception, as 3 straight days of severe weather set up right at the start of the month. April 1st had a moderate risk centered primarily on Oklahoma, with an enhanced risk covering much of the southern plains and midwestern regions. On April 2nd, the threat shifted deeper into the Ohio River Valley, with a moderate risk for severe storms covering most of Kentucky, and also including Ohio and some parts of southern Indiana. Also of note was an enhanced risk covering much of the Deep South, extending well into Georgia and Alabama, almost reaching down to the Florida Panhandle. By the morning hours of April 3rd, the severe weather risk had tempered off somewhat. A slight risk was issued for much of north-central Florida, stretching up into southeastern Georgia. A pocket of slight risk was also issued for eastern Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. As of now, at least 80 tornadoes have been confirmed as a result of this outbreak. The outbreak was particularly notable for West Virginia, which had its most confirmed tornadoes in one day on record. The strongest EF scale rating assigned to a tornado so far from this outbreak has been an EF2, with 14 of the confirmed tornadoes being given this rating. Our part of the story begins on the evening of April 2nd, where we were closely monitoring the forecast, anticipating what would come to our area the following day.
Hello everybody, it is April 2nd, 2024, and we are potentially on the evening of a significant severe weather outbreak in the southeast. Over the past 2 days, there have been back-to-back moderate risks up in mostly the Midwest, but some parts of the Deep South. And while too many storm surveys haven't really come out just yet, there's been numerous tornadoes, a lot of widespread wind damage, like buildings being completely just destroyed, like outbuildings, just by thunderstorm winds, not even tornado winds. So that is the prelude to this, has been that system up in the Midwest. And basically throughout a good majority of the day tomorrow, from sunrise until about the evening hours, we're going to have multiple rounds of thunderstorms come through that are going to bring the potential for all modes of severe weather. Mainly damaging winds, but there is also a 15% hail risk, and along with that, there is a 2% risk of tornadoes. That does not mean that tornadoes are going to happen, but there is the chance. And this is probably the best severe weather chance we've had so far this year, especially since the last storm we had on February 4th. So to get a little more into the forecast, it looks like we're going to have numerous rounds of thunderstorms. Early in the morning, whatever thunderstorms are left over from complexes in Alabama, Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle are going to move east into our area, potentially bringing some severe weather. And then until about 4 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon, there's going to be a chance for thunderstorms to develop that entire time. Granted, it's earlier in the morning, so there's not a lot of instability compared to during the daytime hours, so it's less likely that the storms will be severe and the coverage might be less, especially compared to the squall line that's going to come through. But there is still a chance for severe weather. So we're a bit uncertain on if there's going to be that middle wave of storms. But then there's going to be the squall line, which is absolutely going to happen. I'm pretty sure every inch of our area is going to at least get some rain tomorrow. And some of these wind gusts that have been coming out of these storms up north are a force to be reckoned with. So in the outro here, I'll just play some over my head and you can read some of them for yourself. I am very excited to be able to analyze, chase, and overall just get to see what this system has to do. I hope, of course, it doesn't impact any lives in any negative ways, but unfortunately with weather, that just happens sometimes. But in terms of our own storm chasing and research goals, I'm very excited because we're going to have 2 very distinct setups for severe weather. Overnight into the early morning hours, it is expected that there's going to be a high shear, low cape environment, which I've talked about before, and I've been waiting to study again since February. And then on top of that, we have of course, the linear squall line, where hopefully we'll be able to get some nice pictures and video, and maybe get some straight line winds and see how that goes over. But that's about it in terms of what to expect for tomorrow. There's definitely going to be a pretty decent chance of severe weather, and this is going to be the 3rd and final day in this storm system's severe weather outbreak, and who knows, it might go out on a bang. I mean, right now there's still storms tearing up Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and I hope everyone up there is doing well right now, and I hope everyone down here gets through it safe tomorrow. But we'll be there to track it, and we'll be there to document everything that happens no matter what. So yeah, that's it, and I will see y'all tomorrow.
Through the overnight hours, thunderstorms would bring strong winds and numerous tornadoes to both Alabama and Georgia. During the early morning hours of April 3rd, a large, unorganized blob of rain and embedded thunderstorms began to move into our viewing area. As the sun began to rise, conditions began to fall in place for severe weather. As mentioned earlier, the environment for the day was considered high shear and low cape. Basically, strong wind shear was in place to help organize thunderstorms, but instability was relatively low. The storm mode itself was of a linear or a quasi-linear nature. This HSLC environment is actually different compared to what we faced on February 4th, where we were dealing with primarily isolated supercells. QLCS type storm modes often produce brief spin-up tornadoes when notches form within linear segments. One did actually occur of this exact nature, but that's for later. Using the National Weather Service's tornado climatology data, we could see that conditions were favorable for the development of tornadoes locally when accounting for a QLCS storm mode. QLCS stands for Quasi-Linear Convective System. This is just weather jargon for a storm complex that has linear portions but isn't a full-on squall line. By 10 a.m. local time, surface-based cape values in our area were reaching upwards of 1500. Looking at this cape map, you could see a bubble of increased energy sitting just in front of the squall line. With everything seeming to fall into place, it was time to get out on the road in order to film the incoming storm.
Alright, hello everybody. It is April 3rd, 2024, and we are out in southern Green Cove Springs watching this squall line slowly move in. Now, the initial forecast was it was going to be here around sunrise. It's a little bit past sunrise, but that's okay. So yeah, right now I'm just getting some time-lapse footage because I'm assuming we're not really going to be able to see too much lightning from here. The main line is still a good 30 miles away or so. So yeah, just going to sit and watch the system work itself out for a bit, and then we'll head home and get home for this storm. Because there's a severe thunderstorm warning issued on the cell coming towards us right now. It looks like it's going to be a really nasty windstorm. That's what I'm thinking is going to be the main concern, is the wind. I probably could have gotten a better view if I went down to the highway that's being built, but unfortunately there's a lot of construction there. There's actually construction where I am now, but I talked to them and worked it out so I could record.
By 11 a.m., the leading edge of the squall line was beginning to approach the outer reaches of Clay County. I decided to get back home in order to prepare for the impending windstorm.
Here we go. Crisis averted. Oh, God. Rain's starting to come in. It's definitely starting to get a bit darker. Looking on the map. Yeah, no, they expanded that severe thunderstorm warning. Alright, well, nope. There goes the damn camera. I tried. Oh, it's coming though. Camera tipped over in the car, but that's okay. The leading edge is coming, so like I'm gonna get home in just a minute. I just wanted to head out here and say, look at this coming in. Ominous. I'm seeing flashes of lightning coming from within the squall up ahead as well, so I'm gonna get moving. I just wanted to get a shot of this real quick. Feel the wind coming too. Get a quick pan shot, actually. Hold up. Look at that. Nice. Alright, let's get moving.
The core of the storm rolled over our area at around 11:30. We were pretty hard pressed in terms of seeing lightning, but the storm definitely brought the wind as promised. Within a minute, it goes from relatively light outside to near whiteout conditions.
Alright, I can feel the temperature changing, and I'm right on the outer edge, so here it comes. Get ready. Wow. Alright, hold on. Here it comes! I think the big one's coming.
By noon, the worst of the storm system had pushed out of our county and across the St. Johns River. The line quickly dumped over an inch of rain on top of us, with the rainfall rate at times reaching nearly 2 inches an hour. That is a torrential downpour. As far as I can tell, we did not receive any severe winds at home. If I had to estimate, I would say they gusted no higher than 30 miles per hour in our area. The QLCS would continue eastward throughout the noon hour, filtering in more heavy rain behind it. The segment that came through the first coast area was given 4 different severe thunderstorm warnings and numerous special weather statements. We were under tornado watch at the time the system came through, but no tornado warnings were issued. However, an NWS survey did actually find that a brief tornado hit St. Johns County, so let's look into that. As the QLCS was beginning to approach the east coast, a brief spin-up tornado managed to occur within the line. This is a classic setup for a QLCS tornado. Looking at the velocity radar on the bottom right of the screen, you can see a notch form at around 12:08 p.m., the time of the tornado. This rotation is extremely short-lived, such is the nature of QLCS tornadoes. These types of tornadoes rarely last long and can often go unwarned. They can also be hard to spot on radar. These storms don't typically present with the typical hook echo you'd expect to see on supercell storms, and with the line being full of heavy rain, it can be difficult to confirm a tornado both on radar and in person. Thankfully, this tornado was small and extremely short-lived, lasting less than a minute. No injuries or fatalities were reported from this storm, and the main form of damage was lawn and patio equipment being blown around. The storm survey also noted general wind damage as a result of the storm's rear flank downdraft. A RFD is a feature commonly seen in supercellular thunderstorms, especially those that produce tornadoes. To put it simply, it's a large rush of warm, dry air that wraps around a thunderstorm. This can help form tornadoes. No other tornadoes were reported in Florida as a result of the storm system. However, there were numerous reports of wind damage across the state. These mostly occurred in north central Florida, with a concentration of them in our viewing area happening in Union and Columbia counties. Numerous trees and power lines were blown down across the area, likely due to intense straight-line winds along the front of the QLCS. Unfortunately, one person was injured outside of Lake City when a tree fell on their mobile home. By 3 p.m., much of the activity had ended for the day. The QLCS was racing off to the south and east, and the temperatures were dropping quickly. Looking at the local conditions around 2 p.m., we could see that both surface base and mixed layer cape had dropped dramatically. This means any more storms that tried to form in the wake of the QLCS had a very difficult time coming together. Due to this subsidence, we only ended up seeing one major round of storms for the day, with just some lingering showers for the next few hours after the main line's passing. The April 3rd storm system was quite interesting for our area. I'm glad I got to experience it and study a proper QLCS environment on top of it being high shear, low cape. It feels like with every new storm system that blows through, I learn more about the weather and all of its quirks. I'm glad I am able to share that journey with y'all. Looking at the storm system at large, it left quite the mark on much of the eastern and southeastern United States. I pray for everyone that was negatively impacted by the storm and its resulting severe weather, and I hope for a speedy recovery. And that's all we have for today, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me, and please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out and lets us know that you appreciate what we do. Thank you, and stay safe out there, y'all.